You were never safe, not even as a child. You ran through the yard, played with your toys, laughed without worry, blissfully unaware. But someone was watching, calculating, seething, not a rival, not a stranger, an adult, a mother, a father, a jealous relative. Someone who should have never seen you as a threat, but they did, because your presence alone was a problem. It exposed what they refused to admit. You didn't have to try. You didn't have to compete. Yet every time their child stood next, to you, the difference was undeniable. You shined too effortlessly. You grasped things too quickly. You carried a presence that couldn't be ignored. And instead of making their child better, they wanted you to be worse. Their envy ran deep before you even had words for it. Your name, a curse on their tongue. Your laughter, an irritation in their ears. Your very existence, a reminder of their own shortcomings. So they started early. The cold stares, the subtle exclusion, the whispers behind closed doors. They disguised their jealousy as concern. Why do they always get so much attention? They act like they're better than everyone else. Something about them just doesn't sit right. And you were too young to understand, too pure to recognize the war waged against you in silence. But even then, God saw it. And that's why, no matter what they tried, you never fell. They weren't content with just feeling jealous. They had to act. Watching you shine, watching you win, watching you be effortlessly chosen, it was too much for them. So they began their silent war. At first it was subtle. A missing invitation. A birthday party you were never told about. A school event where everyone else seemed to be included, except you. The same kids who once played with you started looking at you differently. Their smiles stiffened. Their words became clipped. The warmth was gone. You didn't understand. You replayed moments in your head, trying to figure out what you did wrong. But you never did anything, because it was never about you. It was about them. The parents whispering behind closed doors. The mothers who couldn't stand seeing you outshine their children. The fathers who resented how you carried a strength their own offspring lacked. They created the distance. They painted you as the problem. They think they're better than everyone else. They always need to be the center of attention. They don't belong with our kind of people. You felt the shift before you could explain it. The way conversations stopped when you walked into the room. The way teachers and adults who once favored you suddenly became indifferent. They planted seeds of doubt in every ear that would listen. It wasn't enough for them to dislike you. They needed everyone else to turn against you too. Because isolation was their goal. They wanted you alone, small, defeated, but you never broke. Every setup they orchestrated, every whisper they spread, failed. Because what they didn't understand is that your strength was never external. It wasn't in the invitations. It wasn't in their approval. It wasn't in the validation they thought they could take away. Your strength came from within. God saw it all, the manipulation, the lies, the deliberate attempts to shrink you. And he spoke through his word, warning of their downfall. A heart at peace gives life to the body, but envy rots the bones, Proverbs chapter 14 verse 30 said. They thought they were harming you, but in reality, they were rotting from the inside out. They never needed candles, rituals, or incantations to cast their spells. Their weapon was their tongue, and you were their target. They think they're special. They always get lucky. Something about them just isn't right. Casual words to anyone else, but you felt it. It wasn't conversation. It was dark magic disguised as concern. They spoke against you with intention, trying to plant doubt before you even knew who you were. You were just a child, yet their words carried venom. Every comment was an attack. Every joke was a hex. Every whisper was designed to shrink you. And you felt it. The exhaustion that hit you after being around them, the way your joy dimmed without reason, the sudden weight in the air when certain people said your name. Because words are energy, and energy lingers. A chosen one once said, "I used to feel drained whenever a certain family member prayed for me. I thought it was love. But years later, I realized they were never praying for me. They were praying against me." How many times did someone lay a hand on you, claiming to bless you, but secretly resenting your light? How many times did they say your name only to wrap it in jealousy, disguised as a compliment? They thought their words would sink into you, that they would burrow into your soul and break you before you had a chance to rise. But what they didn't know, every word they spoke against you was absorbed by heaven. Every curse disguised as a comment was marked, recorded, and prepared for return. The energy is coming back, tenfold. They wanted you to doubt yourself. Now they can't trust their own reflection. They wanted you to lose opportunities. Now doors are slamming in their face. They wanted to break your spirit. Now they can't escape the heaviness in their own chest, because what they sent out has found its way home. You're still standing, still rising, still exactly who they feared you would become. They couldn't stop you with words, so they turned to something darker. When gossip and manipulation failed, they crossed the line. You lost things. Small things, a hair tie, a notebook, a favorite childhood toy. Gone, but never truly missing, because you know now, don't you? Those items weren't misplaced. They were taken. A teacher's desk, a relative's hand, a neighbor's pocket. And at the time you didn't question it, but years later you understand why. A certain aunt always wanted to comb your hair. Family friend asked to hold your bracelet and never gave it back. A classmate borrowed your pencil, but something about the way they clutched it felt wrong. These weren't coincidences. They weren't collecting objects. They were collecting pieces of you, your hair, your handwriting, your touch, because they believed if they could hold on to a part of you, they could control you. You weren't just envied, you were a target. And the worst part, you felt it. The sudden heaviness after being around them, the unexplained fatigue that followed their touch, the strange dreams, the unshakable anxiety, the sense that something wasn't right. They wanted to bind you, to trap you, to steal what was never meant to be theirs. But they underestimated divine favor. Because no spell, no ritual, no stolen item can override what is already written in your destiny. They thought they were powerful, but the energy they played with was never theirs to command. That same energy is turning against them. The objects they hoarded are suffocating them. The rituals they performed are backfiring. The darkness they tried to send your way is devouring them from the inside out, because God doesn't lose his own. You were never theirs to control. They wanted you to fail. They whispered curses under their breath, hoping your plans would fall apart. They sent out negativity, waiting for the day you would break. But every setback they plotted, God turned it into a setup. You kept winning. They watched you get accepted into colleges they swore you weren't good enough for. They saw you land opportunities they tried to block. They noticed how, no matter what they did, you always ended up in the right place at the right time. It infuriated them. Because they put in the work, not to build their own life, but to ruin yours. And yet you flourished. Every trap they set became a stepping stone. Every lie they told collapsed under the weight of the truth. Every connection they tried to sever was replaced with something greater. And while you were focused on your blessings, they were focused on you. Their frustration boiled over. They watched your name get called for promotions, while theirs faded into irrelevance. They saw you surrounded by real friendships, while their own circle crumbled into jealousy and backstabbing. They felt the sting of watching you move forward, while they stayed trapped in the same cycle of bitterness and obsession. Because they never built anything for themselves. They wasted time plotting your downfall instead of working on their own success. They have nothing to show for it. No progress, no growth, no real legacy. Just the ashes of a battle they already lost. You never had to fight. You just kept walking in divine favor. They should have stopped, But they didn't. They thought they could manipulate energy, bend it to their will, force it to obey them. But energy doesn't bow to desperate hands. It's turning against them. Their homes feel different, darker, heavier, suffocating. The same shadows they once whispered into are now whispering back. Their plants wither no matter how much they water them. Their mirrors crack without reason. Their sleep, restless, unsettling, tormented. They tossed your name into the fire. The fire won't leave them alone. At night, they hear things they can't explain. Soft voices where no one should be speaking. Unseen footsteps pacing in the hall. A constant presence in the room, pressing in, watching, waiting. The paranoia is consuming them. The rituals they once performed bring no comfort now. The incantations they once spoke choke in their throat. The power they once felt is gone, because what they sent out is coming back. Not by your hands, by divine law. They played with forces they didn't understand. They thought they could summon destruction, but destruction doesn't choose sides. They are the ones being haunted. By the same darkness they unleashed. By the same energy they tried to twist against you. By the weight of their own wickedness, they wanted you to suffer. But they cursed themselves instead. You are free, untouched, unshaken, because divine favor cannot be undone. They say the truth will set you free, but let's be real, most people aren't ready for it. For the chosen ones in the Obsidian Inner Order, it's not just about truth, it's the full cosmic transmission. No sugarcoating, no illusions, just raw, unfiltered awakening. Imagine this, weekly group calls with over 450 chosen ones, recorded so you can tap in anytime. Our private Discord, it's not just busy, it's electric. Ideas spark, breakthroughs happen. That chosen energy, unstoppable. And for those seeking something deeper, enter Chosen Singles, where soul connections are written in the stars, not in tired pickup lines. And for the seekers of higher knowledge, unlock Modern Manifestation Mechanics, our exclusive grimoire, with 3 powerful chapters available to members. Transform your space into a magnet for abundance, harness spellcraft for real-world manifestation, and tap into magical forces to accelerate your goals. Plus, gain access to uncensored interviews with real targeted individuals and video specials so raw, the YouTube overlords don't want you to see them. This isn't just a membership, it's a movement. So why keep searching? The path is here. The ascension is now. The link is in the description. They thought they were only hurting you. But energy doesn't just stop. It moves. It lingers. It finds the next vessel. And now, their own child carries the weight of what they sent out. The same destruction they wished for you. It didn't vanish. It didn't disappear. It clung to their bloodline. A child who was once favored, now struggling. A child who once had doors opened for them, now facing rejection after rejection. A child who was supposed to succeed, now blocked at every turn. Because you reap what you sow. And their parents sowed destruction. At first, they dismissed it. Bad luck, a rough patch, just life. But deep down, they know, their child carries a heaviness that wasn't there before. Failed relationships, opportunities slipping through their fingers, an unseen force pressing down on them, making every step feel like walking through mud. And the worst part, they can't fix it. No matter how much they pray, no matter how many rituals they perform, no matter how much money they throw at the problem. Because this isn't a punishment, it's a spiritual law. What they sent out has returned. You never had to lift a finger. Because divine protection doesn't just shield you, it ensures that justice is carried out. They wanted you empty, drained, hopeless, isolated. They spent years throwing energy into your destruction, convinced they could strip you of everything. But they didn't see it happening to them. One by one, the things they once held onto started slipping away. Their reputation, stained beyond repair. Their social circle, gone. Their influence, a distant memory. The same people who once joined them in gossip want nothing to do with them now. Calls ignored, invitations revoked, conversations cut short, because their energy is unbearable. Draining, bitter, twisted with regret and unspoken fear. They thought they could drain you, but the only thing they ever emptied was themselves. You see it in their face, the rapid aging, the exhaustion in their eyes, the way their body carries the weight of their own destruction. They wanted you depleted, but you are thriving, and they are wandering, alone, empty, because everything they lost wasn't taken from them. They gave it away trying to fight a battle they were never meant to win. You never had to fight at all. You feel it, the weight that once pressed against your spirit, gone. The heaviness they tried to place on your path, lifted, because the reversal has begun. Everything they sent your way, every lie, every manipulation, every dark intention, is now circling back to its source. And they know it. You see it in their posture, in their silence, in the way they can't look you in the eyes anymore. The same ones who once laughed at your struggles now fidget in your presence. The ones who once carried themselves with pride now shrink when you enter the room. They used to speak your name with arrogance. Your name is a weight on their tongue. A chosen one once said, "I ran into an old enemy recently. Someone who used to slander my name like it was their favorite pastime. The moment they saw me, they looked away, like something about my presence burned them, because it did." The energy has shifted. They are being exposed, one by one. They thought they could reverse it. They tried to undo the damage. They tried to cleanse the darkness they summoned. They tried to run from what they set in motion. But divine judgment doesn't care about desperation. Once the order is given, there is no escaping it. Every whispered curse, now haunting them. Every attempt to block you, now shutting doors in their own face. Every burden they tried to place on your life, now crushing them under its weight. They wanted you to suffer. They can't even stand in the same space as you, because your presence is too much for them to bear. They are panicking, scrambling, desperate. The ones who once moved in arrogance now move in fear. They see the damage, they feel the weight, and they want to undo it. But there is no undoing what has already been set in motion. The same hands that once cast spells are now shaking as they reach for reversal rituals. The same mouths that once slandered you are now whispering prayers they never meant before. The same people who swore they didn't believe in spiritual consequences are now seeking protection from the very forces they once commanded. But justice doesn't care about desperation, because this isn't about revenge, it's about balance. The law of return does not recognize regret. The wages of destruction must be paid. The energy they summoned must be received. Isaiah chapter 63 verse 4 declared, "For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed has come, and their time is up." They thought they had control, thought they could manipulate energy and escape untouched, thought they could twist fate to their advantage and never face the consequences. But what they put out is now locked onto them. There is no bargaining. There is no negotiation. There is no escaping the judgment they called upon themselves. The sleepless nights have begun. The restless spirits whisper their names. The creeping paranoia tightens its grip. They light candles, but the flames flicker with warning. They recite incantations, but the words feel hollow in their throat. They search for a way to escape, but there is nowhere left to run, because they are standing in the wreckage of their own making. They built a house out of deception, and now the walls are closing in. They played with forces they couldn't control, and now those forces have turned against them. Every action they took against you is a debt that must be paid, and they are paying it in full. They wasted years on you, scheming, plotting, obsessing. Every conversation circled back to you. Every interaction was laced with jealousy. Every plan they made had one goal, to watch you fall. And yet, you never even noticed. Because while they were watching you, you were watching your life unfold. While they were calculating your downfall, you were focused on your elevation. While they were speaking your name in dark corners, you were being called into divine favor. Their efforts failed before they even began. They thought they had power. They thought they had influence. They thought their whispers could shape your reality. But your success was never in their hands. Your destiny was never theirs to control. Your blessings were never theirs to block. Your rise was never theirs to prevent. You remain untouched, unshaken, unbothered, and they can't stand it. You don't flinch when their name is mentioned. You don't entertain their petty games. You don't even acknowledge the energy they so desperately throw your way, because you have already won, and they know it. Your existence alone is their reminder of failure. They see you thriving, and the sting of wasted time burns deeper. They see your favor, and the reality sets in. They were never powerful enough to stop you. They see your glow, and they know deep down they should have been focusing on their own path instead of trying to derail yours. It's too late. You have elevated beyond their reach. They could destroy friendships, but they couldn't destroy your peace. They could spread lies, but they couldn't rewrite your truth. They could wish for your downfall, but they couldn't stop what was already written for you. They spent their energy trying to break you. And you never even noticed, because you were never meant to break. They were never in control. They moved in secrecy, convinced they had the power to rewrite your fate. But this was never about magic. This was about power, and God's power overrides all. They thought they could manipulate destiny, thought they could bend divine will to match their own desires. But you were never in their hands. Your purpose was established before they ever spoke your name. Your path was set long before they tried to block it. Your protection was secured before they even knew you existed. Judgment has arrived, not by force, not by revenge, by law, the law that governs all things. What you send out returns. What you curse becomes blessed. What you try to destroy rises again, stronger than ever. This is the warning to anyone who dares to interfere with a chosen one's fate. You are living proof that no attack can prosper. You are walking confirmation that divine protection is real. They fought a battle they were never meant to win. You never had to fight at all. Share your experience. How have you seen divine justice unfold in your life? Let it be known, the chosen ones cannot be stopped.